First question today is for Graeme. Having worked with product teams on a global scale, what do you enjoy about working with this team?
For me, probably the most important thing is the culture of the team. I find it's a very young, energetic, ambitious team, and that's half the battle won, I guess, when your teammates are energetic, they want to make a change, they have good purpose. It's for me, that's probably the most important thing. The second thing is working with good skills, people who want to advance their careers, and probably underlined by if there's common purpose in terms of like the work that you're doing and the difference that you can make. I think that probably just underpins like what a good team is for me personally.
Cool. Cameron, you've been here only for a short while now.
You be in the team.
Your take?
So I love the culture. I love the people that we work with, and like I echo what Graeme said, like the energeticness and the ambition that people have. I think it's very rare that you find an organization where you can come and be different but resonate, and you're not bounded in what I would term corporate politics, which I think is a really refreshing take on culture for me.
Yeah, and coming from those large corporates, right, like Accenture and ABSA, what actually drew you to iKhokha in the first place?
Sure. So I've admired iKhokha from banking days, I think it was 2018. And I think it's such an inspiring story. So two guys who wanted to make a difference in South Africa, and they've come on such a long way, and to be part of that journey, I think is a unique opportunity that you get to come into and actually put your stamp on it. And I think the fact that you're actually tangibly able to impact South Africa. We find ourselves in very challenging times, and you can come in and you can actually own something end to end and say, I was part of that. I helped South Africa overcome the challenges that they have. And I think you're solving real problems. In corporates, I found myself solving clients' problems or corporate problems, but I never found myself solving a problem that I truly resonated with.
And off the back of that, right? So, I mean, it sounds all great. How do you put it together, Graeme? Like, what are the methodologies that we use on the floor? How do we make that magic happen?
That's a big question. Yeah, I think it starts with the people. So I think finding and hiring, recruiting people who want to make a difference, as Cam has said, like if you get the people aspect right, I think a lot of the rest of the things fall into place. The ways of work are super important. Just, based in my experience, one of the things that I hammer home and like I think a lot of the team is starting to take this message to heart now is, how open and visible is the communication? Can everybody see where we're going and what we're wanting to build? Like, is that common purpose and, is the alignment in place with the team? And I think the other big principle that, we're trying to drive within the teams at the moment is, we don't want to micromanage the way things get done. We almost, I guess, want to create an environment where people, if they understand where we want to go as a business and as a team, they're able to put their skills to use. They're able to, I guess, direct their energies into solving those problems without having to be told what to do. There are a couple of sayings that kind of spring to mind in terms of how you make that happen. The one is, don't hire people and tell them what to do if you want to get a great outcome. And that's true for what we're trying to do here. I think the other is, and I've used this phrase a couple of times in the last few weeks, like high alignment, loose couplement. So like basically what that means is if everybody's on the same page in terms of where we want to go, can you enable them to make decisions on their own and almost run as fast as they can within their own space? So that's where I guess the phrase, being loosely coupled comes from, is you don't want teams to be codependent on each other because that's just going to slow things down. So if you can create the purpose, you can create the alignment, you can create the direction, and then let those teams use their skills to deliver what they need to deliver. I think that's what we're trying to create. And for me, it's hard to get that done it doesn't happen naturally. I think the one thing that I'm learning within this team is that, we've ramped up our team size quite considerably in the last sort of 2 years. People come into teams with different, I guess, biases, different sets of experience, different maturity levels, different skill sets. So for us, the one thing that we've got to get right is, I guess, getting everybody on the same page, making sure that that alignment is well understood. And then hopefully the traction and the empowerment will follow very quickly. And those people will quickly learn that, hey, I don't have to be told what to do. I can actually, work within my team, within my space, and I can make things happen. And, the more we practice that as a team, the better we're going to get at doing it. And when we unlock that, to your question, that's where the magic starts to happen.
Cool. Frank, what are your thoughts from a design perspective?
From a design perspective, I can speak to some of the methodologies that we have used and that are quite key to our success in the market, in the space. One that is quite close to my practice within the business is human-centered design. And the idea behind that is we try by all means upfront to put the merchant or our customer at the center of our process, understanding their needs, understanding their pain points in their world in order to define some of the solutions that we are defining. And we also validate our solutions with those merchants and those customers. We validate our hypotheses. The reality is that there are many different methodologies that we use, and I think that Graeme will be able to speak to a lot of them. One key one that I am able to speak to is that human-centered design as being quite a key part of our process.
And can you tell me a bit more on the collaboration of that with product management, right? From that perspective.
That's quite a good question. What I'm hearing is the collaboration between product management, product design, and engineering. There's a popular Venn diagram that a lot of people are quite aware of, where you have 3 overlapping circles. They call it the sweet spot of innovation. We have desirability, viability, and feasibility coming together to innovate and deliver business value. And that's how we see ourselves coordinating and collaborating within the teams. We have people that represent an understanding of what's good for the business, where we are trying to head, what our key objectives are. We have humans within the team who are thinking about who the merchant is, who the customer is, empathizing with those people. And we also have people who are really, really good and have a deep technical skill set in understanding what's feasible, what's technically scalable. And as a team, we bring those mindsets together, collaborate, lean on each other's strengths in order to find that innovation.
Yeah, Andrew, on that collaboration, right? And in the e-commerce space, which is quite new to iKhokha, I've seen a lot of growth and development and a lot of new things coming. Can you tell us how that same collaboration and the plan and the future looks like in the e-commerce space?
Yeah, I think, just hearing Frank speak there, we obviously try and develop the majority of our solutions, to solve frustrations or to allow our merchants to grow their businesses and to take those payments that they need to. And it's important that we focus on the right areas, and it's not always just farming out features and new products and doing all the work with regard to that. But sometimes we need to look under the hood as well. And I think we're in that phase right now. And a lot of our efforts are being focused on making our end-to-end payment services more robust and more reliable and provide them with that ability to take more payments from things like international cards and more sort of obscure payment methods that we haven't typically supported well in the past. So as we bolster our platform and make our payment services more reliable, we need to think about how we balance that against still introducing those new features that make our product sexy. And it's a tough balance to get right. So at the moment, we're looking at making those services more reliable, more robust, more foolproof, and essentially looking to then look at the next step and building off that foundation to introduce more sexy things like the Google Pays, the Apple Pays, and some additional payment methods that we can use to aid the growth.
So Graeme was talking earlier about, these these individuals, and I hear Frank also saying humans, right? Cameron, to you, what do you think is the kind of product professionals that we are looking for and that would flourish at iKhokha? So like what skills and attitudes and do you think they should possess, especially, being the newbie, like, and being
Who would
so
I
active?
hire?
Yeah, who would you hire?
So I actually thought about this one. I think I came up with 4 things that I would say is the kind of things that we're looking for. So biggest thing, can do. There's no such thing as we can't do. You have to be open-minded and a multitasker. So you're going to be running with a couple of things at one go. It's not just linear in terms of what you're trying to do. You have to be able to solve a problem. So you're not going to be told what to do. You're going to be expected to solve the what and the how. So you need to think end to end. You need to think about the merchant, but also your internal stakeholders. So we have a bunch of people that we solve for internally. So our call center agents, we've got marketing, we've got a whole bunch of people that we support, but also we've got the merchant and the merchant's environment. So you need to think broader. You also need to fail forward and fail fast. So I think we're always obsessed with perfection and having the right product to go out at the right time. There's no such thing as perfection. If you chase it forever, you're never going to deploy. But you need to have a quality product that you then push to market, test, iterate, and learn, and be comfortable with failing. And I think that's something that we're starting to embrace at iKhokha, where if you fail, you learn, you pick yourself up, you carry on. Collaboration. So I think Graeme mentioned it, Frank's also mentioned it. We collaborate across pods, we collaborate within our pods. You need to be willing to communicate, to learn, and to have an opinion about something. And then the last one would be a growth mindset, and value data and the decisions around it, and being willing to speak up and grow as an individual.
I mean, maybe to add to that, I think, Cameron's points are pretty spot on. I mean, you can't, there's no substitute for a good attitude. And, I think we've got, like I said earlier, I think we've got people in our business of varying skills. We're looking for mentors. We're looking for people with experience. We're looking for people who, I guess, can level up in that business and aren't afraid to go and learn new things. I guess the skill of product management or product in general is ever changing. It's one of those disciplines where, as much as you've been in this discipline for sort of 10, 15 years, 18 years, some of us, like every 2 years, it's reinventing itself. It's becoming slightly different. You go back to maybe 10, 15 years ago, it was all about agile and, getting Scrum certification. These days, it's, how empathetic can you be? How many customer interviews are you doing? How many times are you reaching your customers? So, I think the discipline itself is evolving. The facets of what you need to look out for, everything, the terminology around product discovery, like how are you uncovering facts, how are you looking deep into the data, how are you talking with stakeholders, through to delivery, how are you engaging with engineers and designers and putting plans together and executing it, how fast can you release, all the way through to sort of stakeholder engagement. Are you managing expectations up the chain, down the chain, across the chain? So it's quite a complex thing to put your finger on when you talk about product management, because I can guarantee you, if you put 5 people around the table, you're going to get 5 different versions.
We'll all argue a different story
Of exactly what it is. But to the point, it's at its core, it's about solving customer problems. Okay, using technology. That's what we're trying to embrace here. We're trying to build, I guess, our mantra is around helping entrepreneurs start, grow, and manage their businesses. And when you unpack that, what does it mean to start, grow, and manage a business? And it is going back to those pain points, understanding what customers. So to Frank's kind of, way of doing things, human-centered design and, putting the customer at the center of problem solving. That's a very core part of it, but it's not the only thing. Understanding how engineers work and the level of detail and how testing needs to happen and how deployments and how fast you can deploy or slow you can deploy. I mean, it's a vast discipline. And I think, you know, to the point around looking for individuals with the right attitude, you know, with the right attitude comes the ability to learn and upskill and continue to upskill. And when we get that right and we find those are the people we want to bring into our business. Those are the people we want to accelerate. Those are the people we want to level up, you know, to being good service designers or UX designers or product managers or engineers. So yeah, it all starts with a good attitude. So I think Cam's spot on there.
But I also think what's cool is, so we speak about engineers and we speak about designers and we speak about the product managers. You all have an opportunity to flourish. So the designer is brought to the table to flourish in design and bring their skill set. The engineer is brought to the table to come around, how do we solve this with technology in the best way possible and to flourish. And the product manager is there to come and represent business and that understanding. And when you bring the three things together and you truly have constructive conversations, you develop the most amazing solution. And I think that's what I found different. Like, I've come from traditional organizations where it's PO manages everyone and they manage downstream and they just dictate, and you become this this mercenary that just follows what you're told. Whereas here, you're open to debate and you're open to challenge. And I think that's what makes it so special. And if you're wanting a place to come to bring that and experience that, I think come to iKhokha. That would be my...
Agree with that. And I think going back to one of the first questions you asked about iKhokha and, you know, what makes it good to work here, that's definitely one of the things that resonates with me the most. Every person here is hired to showcase their skills, and they're given the room to do so in more of a way than I've ever experienced before. And I think I'm a participant in a number of interviews for new people who want to join iKhokha. And we ask them what they don't like about their managers or jobs, and they all say they don't like to be micromanaged. And when you join here, you're certainly not micromanaged. You're given the space to execute, and that can be a scary space sometimes as well. You know, you're given the accountability and the space to showcase those skills, but you're held accountable as well. And that's a really good place to be, but as well as it's also a scary place sometimes.
True. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it can also be scary because it's not what we're used to. So if that's the space that we've created and that's what, we want people to come for, then what are the opportunities and possibilities in the fintech space, right? Because we're speaking a lot about the individual and product management and design and engineering. And that's just, what we do. But our goal here is the fintech space. So maybe, Graeme, you can kick us off and start off as what are the opportunities in fintech?
No, I mean, I think, again, as a business, I think we're all here because we believe there's vast opportunity, right? The history of this business it's been a card machine business, solving payment problems for small merchants. For us as a business, I think we're moving into a space where if we can add value into a merchant's kind of day-to-day running of that business with a kind of hard link back to the payment space, there's a whole bunch of opportunities we open up, from integrations into systems, building websites, enabling those merchants to sell online, providing them with tools to recon their products, things like sales analytics and how they're doing in their categories. So I think the opportunity that gets unlocked when you apply technology to some of these problems that small and medium-sized businesses are having, the opportunity is vast. So literally there's a blank canvas for us. I mean, we are doubling down on solving payments problems and going into, as in Andrew's space, particularly into the sort of e-commerce enablement and getting those businesses to, I guess, adopt an online way of running their business. And for us, I think the canvas is there to be painted. Other opportunities in fintech, I mean, from a skills perspective, we're touching a tech stack that is pretty vast. We're talking like from everything from physical hardware So, Java being written on hardware devices through to front ends that are, I guess, attracting merchants and allowing them to buy those devices online, or signing up for, tap on phone services where, device isn't needed and you're literally, using your Android device to take payments. So app development skills, web development skills, kind of back-end platform API development skills. That's not even touching Frank's space, which kind of includes everything from UX, UI, interaction design, service design, research. There's a broad range of opportunities. So I think fintech's a pretty broad category. We've got a definite role to play in advancing, I guess, what we can deliver to merchants in this category. And along with that comes a bunch of skills that are going to be needed. So I think, if the opportunity or if the interest in making a difference is there and you're touching into one of those skills that I've mentioned, you definitely want to be looking at coming and joining a team like ours.
Definitely. If I may speak on that point, I think a really good point, Graeme, around just the stack of technology, problem solving that we're dealing with. What stood out to me joining the business in my tenure here is just how the business thinks about the merchant or the customer, and that vast amount of problems within the merchant's ecosystem that we are solving. Everything, as Cam managed, from starting their business to managing and growing their business, and the amount of products and features that we're delivering to solve those problems, from e-commerce to in-person payments to management and analytics. It really just gives an individual within the business the opportunity to get a piece of these different problem spaces, and it makes for a very exciting environment to work in.
And I think what's also cool there is if you start playing around with the fun technologies, how do you use ChatGPT to come into the space and solve some of our fundamental problems that we have, for instance, in telesales, so just managing incoming calls. But then how do we start doing product marketing with it? How do you start using it to do all sorts of other things? I think also you start developing really relevant skills within the industry, and you can have fun with it here.
I was just going to say, just feeding off the four of you, it's almost like when we speak about this, there's this element of excitement, what else is to come, there's this constant future looking, there's so much to cover. Where do we take and where do we leave, and what do we do and what do we not do, right? So, and on that, that growth topic, right? What are the growth opportunities in iKhokha?
Growth opportunities. Well, I think if you're looking for sort of a predefined career path, it's probably not the place to be. We definitely have structures in place to grow from one role to the other. But I think the real opportunity is sort of personal growth. And iKhokha and through its mechanisms and how we work will probably teach you valuable life lessons more so than any other company I've worked for. You're going to learn tenacity, you're going to learn grit to get through things. And we look for people who are the classic sort of T-shaped person. We're looking for people who are very good generalists, because you have to be, because there's so many different aspects and nuances in the product space. But we're also looking for that deep vertical T, where people have deep skills within their area and deep knowledge of it and expertise. And that grows with time. And I think at iKhokha, if you stuck to your role and you executed within that role for 10 years at iKhokha, that T is going to get very, very deep. You're going to learn the subtleties, the nuances. You're going to learn about getting the best out of the solutions we develop. And I think that's the growth that I would seek, rather than just sort of a corporate ladder that I'm trying to get promoted and go up through. Yeah.
I almost feel that sense of innovation there, diving into the opportunities out there, but allowing that freedom, as you guys said, that space to innovate and think and be me and share and really deep dive as we go down.
And sorry, I also, just to build on what you're saying, is we have examples of people they've kind of plateaued, and then they've spoken to us and they've said, I want to move teams, I want to move and be exposed to a different part of this landscape. And we want to keep you. We've invested so much time into you, and you've invested so much time into us. So we do enable that the movement laterally to experience different things and be exposed into different things. So there's plenty of growth opportunities in terms of that. So you don't just have to be a BA. You can shift from BA into PO. You can shift from intermediate dev. You'll be progressed into a senior dev, but you can be doing it on the actual hardware device, or you can be actually doing it on the pay gateway, as an example. So plenty of opportunities to be exposed and move and grow.
Cool. So bringing that all together, Graeme, what is the vision for this team? Like, what do the coming years look like for product professionals at iKhokha?
Now that you save the big questions for last.
He's gonna defer. He's gonna say, well, you're putting your roadmap together, you're putting your roadmaps together. It's all of those.
That's part of it. Yeah, I mean, if I look at what we're trying to achieve as a business, like there's no doubt we want to affect 1 million merchants in our business. So that's a big kind of moonshot for us. How can we impact 1 million merchants with our systems, our tools, our technology, our product set? We want to look at new markets that we want to expand into. So, this is a fantastic South African story, but, we want to look at other emerging markets and we want to move into those markets. So there's still a lot of foundational work that we need to put in place. As I said earlier, we've grown our teams. So that's necessitated, I guess, a level of, let's say, management or a little bit more structure in terms of how do we create consistency across those teams? How do we set those teams up for, I guess, working in ways where they become a little bit more empowered? So definitely driving home this point for me is something that I'm quite passionate about. Of can we get to the point where all of our product teams are empowered to the point where we can meet quarterly, we can go through our processes around looking at what do we need to achieve in the next quarter and the next 2 or 3 quarters, and allow those teams to go off and take the big bets that they need to take to advance us closer towards that 1 million merchants or those new markets and that product ecosystem that we're trying to build. Those are important things to get right. I think, along the journey, figuring out, and we haven't quite got this right yet, but we're getting closer and closer to getting it right. And I think you've got to keep practicing it, is we've adopted a remote culture around working. That's great from a flexibility point of view. So, we can hire across South Africa, we can hire across, the continent, we can hire across the world. We operate on a South African time zone, but, pretty much we can hire from wherever we can find the skills. Getting that right and practicing that and making sure that we retain some of our culture is part of what I want to make sure we get right in this team. So, how do we make sure that everybody is communicating? How do we make sure that everybody's on the same page? How do we celebrate, the wins and the things that are happening within the teams? As you get bigger and bigger, disseminating that information and keeping everybody on the same page in a remote environment becomes quite challenging. So for me personally, that's a big thing that I want to get right over the next couple of years. And I think we've taken some big steps to, in the right direction there. Yeah, I mean, we're investing in our people from a training perspective. So, I have this phrase that I use quite loosely around, building a world-class product team. What does that mean? For me personally, that means that, we're delivering value to merchants. We're releasing frequently. We had this discussion the other day around, what is frequently? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? Is it daily? Like, I think, we want to get to the point where we are almost releasing on a daily basis. It's in certain industries that's quite difficult to do. But I think if we put that down as a goal for our team, and slowly but surely in the different teams that we're working across, we get closer and closer to daily releases, I think we are almost, at the point where we can call ourselves a world-class team. So for me, those are, I guess, like big themes that we'll be working on. How fast can we deliver? How much fun can we have along the way? How can we keep, I guess, developing our people and helping them to improve their skills? How close can we get to that million? How far can we take our products around, around the globe? Those are part of, I guess, what the big vision entails.
So jump on the ship.
I'm definitely on the ship. I'm almost re-inspired to reapply with my own Well, thanks, Graeme, and thanks everybody for joining today. I think re-inspired to get going. So looking forward to my day tomorrow. Yeah, thanks everyone. That's a wrap.